Hey, I wanted to make this video because a few days ago I had a dancer ask me at work, how do you get guys to go up to rooms and stay there for a long time? And it kind of shocked me because I just think she's one of the most beautiful stage performers that are at my club, and she's just gorgeous and really cool and really friendly. And it made me realize that sometimes when we have these amazing skills, it can be a little bit difficult, especially when we're first starting, to transfer those into rooms and to sell those skills to customers. So I just wanted to cover some ways to answer that question, right? So the question is, how do you get guys? What do you tell them to get them up there? And we're going to go over some ways to improve your win ratio at this part of your job. Um, my belief is that to sell rooms and to keep people renewing those rooms and to do it consistently over and over again, you have to believe at your core that you're going to provide your customer with the best possible version of his evening. You have to believe that he is getting a bargain deal because your company and your time are so valuable that they're going to be running through his head for the rest of the year. And whatever number it is that they charge at your club, whatever number they put on an hour of your time, 2 hours of your time, 5 hours of your time, you have to believe that you are worth that. If you don't believe that you're worth it, he is not going to believe that you're worth it. Because when you're at the club, you're in a constant competition with your customers. They want to sell you on the idea that they can't afford or don't want to buy the most expensive product available. And it is your job to convince them that the most expensive product available is the only product that is going to satisfy their needs. So, how do you get a customer to believe that? How do you get a customer to feel like he needs to get that room or he's not going to have a good time? The first thing that I would recommend is you need to identify what his needs are. So when you walk up to a customer, a lot of the time I see dancers walking up to a customer and they are using the same line on every single guy. They are interacting in the same way. They are offering the same kinds of dances, the same kind of entertainment. And I just think that's a huge mistake. And I think it really limits your money. Different customers go in for different reasons, right? If you are treating the 25-year-old dude at a bachelor party the same way you're treating the 50-year-old married man who's going in because he needs some conversation and some relaxation, then you are not maximizing either of the spending potential of those two people. So some ways to identify those needs are you need to learn how to listen. It's really hard to listen to others, to actively listen. When the FBI does hostage negotiations, they actually have 5 or 6 people on the line that are just there to listen. So there'll be one guy listening to whoever has hostages, and there'll be 4 other people just listening in, trying to catch anything that that person didn't. And the reason why is because we have so much stuff going on in our heads. We have our own voice, our own ego, our own ideas. We're thinking about what we're going to say next. And all of that is taking away processing power from listening to our customer. And when our customer walks in, he's trying to tell us what he wants, right? If he's talking about having fun, you might realize that's his reason for going out. If he says, I just need to relax before going to bed, that might be his reason. If he looks sad or tired, that's telling you something about his personality. If he looks really excited or he looks like he's really drunk, all of that is information. All of that is different types of listening. And a lot of the times when we walk up, you'll see a dancer walk up and just say, hey, do you want to dance? And that tells your customer you haven't listened at all to his needs and wants because you haven't listened to him. You haven't started a conversation. You haven't dug in. You haven't asked leading questions about his day. And there's a lot more information on the website about how to do that, about how to really dig in and what kinds of questions to ask. So I won't cover that here, but I just want to point out that if you're not identifying what your customer came in there for, then you're going to have a much harder time selling him on a room. Because if you're trying to sell him on a crazy party night and all he wants to really do is sit down and tell you about his divorce, then man, he is going to have no interest in you. The next thing to identify, so you figured out his needs, the other thing you need to identify is your skills as a dancer. And this totally depends on you. Different people have different skills. For example, I am a terrible stage performer. Get super anxious, do not enjoy doing stage sets, try to avoid them whenever possible. It's not my strength, right? So the kind of guy that wants to show up to the club and sit by the stage and throw 300, 400 ones on an entertainer that's just making the night live, he and I might have another skill that I can offer him, right? I might be really entertaining one-on-one, or I might have some great conversation or some really good jokes. But if that's specifically what he needs, I might not be the person to fill that need. In the same way, I do know I have a lot of skills, right? So for me, those might be that conversational skill. It might be being very central or being very aware or a good listener. And you need to figure out your own skills, right? Are you a really good stage performer? Are you very sweet? Are you great at role playing? Can you be very dominant? Can you be very submissive? Can you ask really good questions? Can you empathize with them? Are you really fun and wild? Do you get like crazy lap dances that amp up the room? All of those are skills, and you figure out the Venn diagram of where his needs match your set of skills and melt those together. Another part of that is expanding the confidence you have in your skills. It doesn't matter how good you are at those things if you cannot sell your customer on the idea that you are good at them. And selling him on that idea might be giving him a dance. It might be giving him a massage. It might be sitting next to him and looking into his eyes. It doesn't have to be just what you say. You know, when we think about selling, I think a lot of people think of the used car salesman or the dancer that's really pushy. Let's go do a dance now, you know, or this is gonna be the best dance you've had in your whole life. Like that kind of stuff might work every once in a while, but it's not honest. It's not coming from a place of honesty or a friendship. So a lot of guys are not going to respond to that. But when you develop confidence in what you are offering, right? When you figure out, okay, this is my niche, this is my skill set, and then you expand on that and you practice over and over telling a customer, I know I can do this for you. I know I can make your night better. I want you to give me a chance to help you have the best time at this club. Men really listen to that, and especially your body language. You know, it's not just you saying it, it's you feeling it and expressing it with your actions as well. And another part of that I want to talk about is expanding your vocabulary, expanding your script. A lot of the time, I think when we think of a script, we think of like maybe like a telemarketer, someone that's really annoying, calls your house like, hey, do you want to buy some bottled water? Do you want to buy this magazine subscription? Do you want to buy this car? Like that is sort of the worst version of scripts, and I think it gives it a bad rep to prepare. But if you are going to talk to customers and have the same conversations over and over, my belief is that you have to be ready and you have to be scripted. And that means when I go home and I'm preparing, I try to think of 10 lines that I have memorized for, say, like a young dude that's out trying to have fun, right? If I know that bachelor parties are going to come in every Friday and Saturday at my club, shame on me if I don't have a line ready to use on that young guy that's drunk, right? Same way, shame on me if I don't have a line to get that businessman that is stingy with money to go upstairs, or the guy that says I can't afford it or I don't have enough time. If you don't have a line ready for that, then don't be surprised when the guy sells himself on leaving and you get sold that he should leave because you don't have something to tell him and you're not prepared for the interaction. Even if it means writing those down, putting them in a journal, creating a work journal just to write down your lines and to practice answering different objections that guys are going to have. I think that's one of the most useful tools, and I think it improves your income so much and it improves your confidence so much to have that ready to go. And the last part of that I want to talk about is practice. Practice every single night. Practice. I think there is a huge difference between practicing and trying blindly. A lot of us will go in, we'll spend the whole night giving whatever line, giving whatever conversation, saying the same thing over and over without putting in thought or being deliberate. That is just hitting your head against the wall. That is not practice. Or rather, it is practice, but it is practice of poor habits. Just like when you play an instrument, when you play it with poor technique and you practice with poor technique, you get poor results when you're performing in real time. If you practice at your club and you practice lazily and you interact with customers without listening, you interact to customers without asking for their needs, you interact with them without knowing what your value is and what you're bringing to the table, then you are practicing bad habits. And when it comes time to perform, you're not going to be able to perform at that high level. So even if you get the first hour, you might not get the second hour. Even if you get a few hours one night, you will not replicate it the next day. The people that are in brooms every night have a set of skills that they have mastered. They are consistent. They're doing it every day. And they got there because they practiced consistently. Whether they did it consciously or they did it unconsciously, they have been practicing for years to get that technique down. And it shows. It shows to them and it shows to customers. So when you're at your club, make it a point to practice. If it is slow and every guy is like pulling teeth and no one wants anything from you, then keep talking to them, keep practicing, keep trying different lines and figure out which things are working and which things are not. Make it a process. Don't make it a personal issue of whether a guy says yes or no. It's not about the guy. It's not about the interaction. It's about the dozens and dozens and hundreds of interactions you're going to have at a club. And it's about maximizing the value of those overall. So when you look at it as, well, I'm trying this kind of line on this kind of guy, how many times is it working? If I switch a few words in that line, does it work better? If I make eye contact or if I smile when I say it, does it work better? If I am holding his knee or I point towards a room instead of just sitting there and describing it, right? If I take him and give him a tour of the club, does that work better? Does that increase my odds? If you can't answer those questions, it means you're not going through a process. You don't have a system, and you may succeed. And if what you're doing now is working for you, then great. But if you think that there's potential to improve your sales, and I think for all of us, there's potential to improve our sales, that's one tool that really helps. Make it a method, make it a system. Stop making it personal. Stop making it about you or about he doesn't like me or about customers are being mean tonight. They're not being mean to everyone. Not everyone is getting all no's. So someone's doing something right, and it's your job to find out what that is, how you can replicate it, how you can make it your own, and then how you can use it to sell rooms over and over. So I know that's not comprehensive. There's still a lot of parts of this that we could talk about in more depth. Things like how to be a better active listener, or what kinds of lines you can drop when you're selling a room, or how you can deal with price objections. And a lot of that is already on the website. You can go on www.rackstariches.com, and there's a lot of long form articles that cover some of those parts of the sales cycle. But a lot of it is also going to come down to you, your personal practice, what makes you feel good. And of course, if you have any ideas about how to improve that, if you have any tactics that work for you that get those customers to go up and stay up, or if you disagree with anything I said, if you feel like having a system might be too impersonal, or if you feel like improvisation works better for you, or if you feel like using the same line over and over has some value or efficiency, I want to hear from you. I want to know how you feel about answering that question, and I welcome all of your advice, your comments, your thoughts, concerns, etc. Thanks for listening, and I hope this helps.